Warning: the five may contain discussions on topics such as death, suicide, rape, addiction, and abuse. Although these topics are approached in a therapeutic manner, they still may have triggering effects on some individuals. Viewer discretion is advised.
Human beings are crafted through experience. Each person, from the closest of friend to the most random of stranger, has a unique story crafted by the ultimate experience that we call life. Welcome to the Five. The same five questions, a completely different experience every time.
I met today's guest at Knoxville Pride about a year ago. She's actually the cousin of one of my best friends, and I found out we've actually kind of met numerous times before, but she's kind of that shy cat that hides under the bed and you just see some whiskers poke out every so often. So I honestly didn't know we had met before, but when we officially met, I thought, I really like this person and I really hope that they become part of the friend group. Well, she has, and so I'm really happy to let you guys meet her today. So how about you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Sam. So I moved to Knoxville area about almost 3 years ago now. I've kind of lived everywhere. I was born in California and raised in Okinawa, Japan. From there, I joined the military. I lived in Arizona for a while, briefly in Oklahoma, moved to Washington State and was there for about 5 years. And then I kind of took a dive and moved out here, and I've been here ever since.
Well, we're really lucky to have you. So, you know the drill. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. Just answer them however you want. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?
Oof, starting off hard. All right. So, see, when I was young, I was about 19. I was raped. I was at a party, and I was actually a DD, so I hadn't drank much. I maybe had like a beer or two. And I was in the back of a vehicle. It was like 3 a.m. So I ended up taking a nap, kind of waiting for everyone to get their shit together. And I ended up just passing out. And I just remember all of a sudden waking up and somebody was on top of me. I don't really remember much after that. I think I remember waking up by a tree, naked by a tree. And I think that's terrifying in itself. But the most terrifying part after that is the fact that I didn't know who this person was. And I didn't even remember what they looked like. I think the worst part is the nightmares and trying to piece back what exactly happened to me. I mean, like, I would have these nightmares of hands, and then all of a sudden, as the years went on, I would have nightmares that kind of just would add to this story, and it wouldn't feel like it was me. It was like I was watching this happen, and it wasn't me. I was watching a movie. And for a long time, I thought, that's not me. Like, I asked for this. I edged it on. I just tried to deny the fact that, like, I was a victim or I was a survivor, or however you want to put it. I mean, I think the most terrifying thing is waking up screaming, sweating. It was terrible. And I still have these nightmares. I still have a lot to work through with this. For a long time, I couldn't have sex sober. I had a little mini bag in the back of my car with airplane shots because I thought, if I was drunk, I don't know, it would make it easier. I really think the scariest part was probably the fact that how 10 minutes to a half hour, I don't even know, I still don't know how long it was, changed my life so much. I was terrified of people for a very long time. Like, I couldn't go to stores by myself without anxiety. I couldn't have people touch me. Couldn't have people hug me. And it was just a moment that just changed the course of my life for a long time. And it took so long and so much work to get my power back to feel like myself again. And I mean, I'm still working on this, and it's been, I don't, it's been almost 10 years, which is insane. And I'm missing chunks of my life because I let that depression just consume me for so long, so long. And I think that is, it wasn't the incident itself that was scary. I think it was everything that came after that was probably the most terrifying.
I'm so sorry to hear that happen to you, Sam. I've noticed that you kind of like would flinch a lot of times when you get hug. We're a hugging group. In the beginning, I was kind of like standoffish because I saw you literally like flinch when you got hugged, and I just thought, oh, she's not a hugger.
I think the worst part is I love hugs. Like I am just, I mean, there's a little bit more. I mean, you've heard, you know, I mean, I've been in abusive relationships. Also, it's terrible. I mean, I love hugs. I'm not good at intimacy, and that's part of trust. A lot of trust. I mean, I struggle with that so much, but I love it, and it's like these two parts of me that just clash. And I've come to be okay with it, like to kind of just be patient with myself. I think that's the biggest thing, is just kind of being really, really patient with myself, and just reminding myself, like, okay, like you, at this point, like I know these people well enough, like you're in a safe place, like you're in a place where, like, you know, you can trust these people. Like, you know, okay, the other day when you got my glasses, I hope you guys have seen these videos by now, but when you grabbed my glasses from the freezing cold water, like, I think I almost cried because I've never had anyone do something like that for me. I mean, and it's just the fact that, like, I'm in this environment with all of these people who care so much about me. I mean, I've never really had that. So I just, it makes me so happy. So, I mean, now I'm more willing to, like, open up a little bit and give hugs and get hugs.
Well, I am very glad that you are, because I am a hugger and you're an excellent hugger. Like, you're one of my favorite people. You're a very cuddly person now, which actually, again, surprised me, because I was like, I just thought she just did not like hugs, but she is like an excellent hugger. So I thought you'd missed your calling.
The cuddle puddles.
Oh, yes. If people have not experienced a good friendly cuddle puddle, I highly recommend that you get some people together and just cuddle up. You know, it doesn't have to be weird or anything like that. It is so therapeutic. So I love that my friends are cuddle puddle people, and any chance we get, we're gonna like end up in a big pile just talking about things. And I think it's so therapeutic for like all of us, you know. I think touch is very therapeutic. So I hate that somebody could steal your ability to want to be touched, to want to be held, and stuff like that. It just makes me angry. I guess we can move on to the next thing, though, which is, what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you?
This one actually was the hardest for me. I can't say that this is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me, but it's probably the weirdest thing that I've ever done. I used to go to bars a lot when I was young. I was like 18. This is when I was living in Japan. So I was 18. And I started a side hustle where people would pay me in drinks, and I'd be their, like, hired wingman or wingwoman. Guys and girls, like, anyone, just give me a drink and I'll be your wingwoman for the night. And essentially, all I do is teach them how to be decent human beings, and teach them that, like, these people that you want to interact with are other people. So, like, half of my clients would, actually more than half, 90% of them would come up to me and they're like, oh yeah, that person that you like helped me out with, like, we're dating now. Some of them got married. I'm in contact with a couple of them. They've had very successful relationships. Um, I mean, so that's pretty up there on the list of like weirdest things that I've ever done. Um, and this actually leads into my happy later. So this is kind of important for me to mention. But yeah, that's up there. And then there's another one where I accidentally became a dom. That actually probably is the weirdest. This other one just relates to the fact that my happy. Oh God.
Bring it on.
I accidentally became a dom because like I was on Tinder when I first got out here, and essentially I kept getting these messages from people who were like, "Hey, are you a dom? Hey, are you a dom?" And I was like, "No, like not at all. Like no." And I just kept turning them down. And I'm telling you, like it was 10 or 12. And then I was like, "You know what? Sure. Sure." And man, I think honestly, it was almost empowering. It's not my cup of tea. So my babies, if you're seeing this, hey, what's up? But it's not exactly my cup of tea. So it was very explorative and very great. And I actually had a really good time. It gave me a lot of power and, but like I said, ultimately at the end of the day, not my cup of tea.
Now, there's some people out there that probably don't know what a dom is, so you might want to give us a brief explanation on that.
Man, I mean, I was online only. I didn't do this in person. I don't really want to explain this. I don't know how to explain this very well. Essentially, like a dom. Can I Google this?
Just tell us what you would do as a dom, and I think that'll explain itself.
Oh, it's terrible. The things that I would do were not very kind, but it was requested. I guess a dom is somebody who's more controlling, and who is more controlling of somebody who's more submissive, but in a with consent, with consent. All about communication, but it's like slightly pushing a little bit of boundaries. Obviously, there's always a safe word in play. No is very, very important in this. But there was a lot of things that a lot of boundaries that were crossed, that I would never have anyone do again. I would never ask anyone to do again. But yeah, it was one of those things that I think for me actually helped me out a lot. Like, with my experiences in my past, it oddly helped me just, I don't know. I don't know if it helped me shift my mentality, and like, I don't know how to put this very well. It helped me kind of just gain some power back, give me some confidence, and make me realize like I am in control of my own body, not by demeaning people, but like I'm in control of my own body. Like I can sexualize myself how I want to sexualize myself. I can present myself how I want to present myself. And it was a very interesting experience. Like it was probably for about 6 months. We got a lot of lingerie. Yeah, I've got a lot of lingerie out of it. It was very interesting, very fun.
Well, you had mentioned that your original story kind of led into your happy moment. So what's the most memorable moment of your life so far?
Okay, there's two. My happy memories always revolve around music. I love music. I used to play, I actually still have a guitar, pointing to it like you can see it, but I have a guitar, and I used to travel for singing a little bit when I was younger. But when I was a kid, living in Japan again, I used to play my ukulele at the beach for drunk people. And what I would do is I would raise money, and I would buy myself alcohol, food, and then tea. There's like some great cartons of tea in Japan. It's kind of like iced tea, but not sweet. I wish they had it in America, but they don't. I would buy those three things at all times, and the rest I would donate to like the homeless people in Japan. So at some point, I think for a while, every weekend, I want to say for a consistent month or two, some of those people that I like had hooked up with like their significant others ran into me at my little corner by the beach, and they would jam out with me. And it was probably one of my favorite moments. Like them and their significant others would sit there and sing with me or just like hang out with me. And I was like, this is so cool how I built this like little unintentional, like little group of people that were just amazing. And I would have never met them if I wasn't a wing woman for hire.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it was actually really, really cool. Really fun. I mean, and they were all about my cause. Like it was really interesting. Really, really interesting. I ended up meeting some other really great people too. I would always go out of my way to help people who were super drunk. At some point, like on my way home, there's a lady who was getting harassed by some men, and I didn't know this, but she had hopped in my car. I kept my car unlocked while I was driving. She just hopped in my car, and she's like, "Hey, I need a ride." And I was just like, "Okay." All of a sudden, she's just in my passenger seat, and I'm like, "Okay, where are we going? Where are we going?" And so I took her all the way home. But I mean, there was a few instances where like I was able to make sure people got home safe, and things were just really cool. I would sleep out at that beach all the time because in Japan, it's like one of the safest countries in the world. So I'll send you some pictures if I can find them. But like this beach in particular, I'd take naps, I'd hang out, I'd play my music. It was like bliss. And then the second memory, I have to say, I think would be driving around. I had a minivan when I first moved back to the States. It was a 1991 Mercury Villager van. So this thing was red. Her name was Martha. And my dad had had this van since before I was born. So when I was 18 and just moved back to the States, he had given me this minivan to drive. This thing still had a VHS in the back, so I had Pokemon playing, and you can hook up an N64 to it. Like, the coolest thing, subs. So I would kidnap my best friend. I was a senior in high school. So I'd kidnap my best friend, and when I got off in the middle of the day. So I got off at noon, and she got off at like 2 o'clock. So she ditched school. I'd throw her in the trunk, cover her with a blanket, get out of school. She'd jump in the front seat, and we'd go straight to the beach and just drive around, listening to music, having the best time, just talking, getting good food. Always end up at the beach. We didn't need to swim. We'd just drive around the beach, just listening to music and talking. It's like some of my favorite things to do with people is just driving, listening to music, great conversations, like always.
A lot of times it's the small things that really mean a lot to people that I found. Like in the first part, you put out these good vibes by being a wingman or wing woman, and it kind of come back to you. I am a believer in you put good out into the world. Good usually tries to work its way back to you somehow and everything. I can picture you out there playing your ukulele, meeting these people that you've kind of helped. So, and you've also opened yourself up to people by being like the wing woman to somebody. You've met a stranger who's not a stranger anymore.
What do I call myself? Like awkwardly outgoing. Like I could talk to anyone. I can talk to absolutely anyone when my social battery is full. After that, I'm just like, nope, I'm done. I'm going to go hibernate for 2 weeks. I'll see you later. It's my superpower.
My superpower is I have a nuclear-powered social battery. I never run low.
I would say I'm jealous, but that just sounds exhausting. Can't even imagine it.
Well, I hate to bring it down, but this is always the hard one. What's the saddest thing that's ever happened to you?
I'm torn between two.
And you can talk about two.
This kind of ties back to my scary. After I was raped, I walked towards the water. I don't know why everything kind of revolves around water with me. I was at a lake, and I walked towards the water, and I just remember I'm just gonna I'm just going to drown. Like, I'm just going to go in and not come back. Like, I'm done. Because I at that point, I had just gone out of my abusive relationship. I've had several other things that have happened. And this was all within the span of like a year. Yeah, about a year. And I was just done. I did not want to live anymore. And that wasn't the only time that I had felt that low. It happened again about 5 years later. I was in the military, so I was on my way. I was getting medically discharged, so I was getting out of the military for medical purposes. And one of these things is I had to prove that I had PTSD from the military. And at that time when I was going out, essentially I had a really bad therapist, and the therapist said that my dad molested me. My dad or my stepdad, one of them molested me, instead of saying that I had gotten raped in the military. Essentially, they're like, no, your dad or your stepdad molested you as a kid, and that's why you're having these reactions. So I had to prove that I was raped in the military. But before I did that, I ended up losing it. I mean, once again, like, I got suicidal, ended up taking pills, like a shit ton of pills. And luckily, my spouse at the time ended up calling the ambulance, and I ended up going to, the hospital for a while, got back on my feet. And then this actually, I want to say a few months before I met you, a very similar situation happened. I had everything laid out, and this time I looked at myself and I'm like, you don't really want to do this. You don't want to do this. And I didn't. But this voice in your head just screams at you. And it's heartbreaking. It breaks my heart. I mean, and I kind of mentioned it before. It's it's terrifying, but it's so sad that it took 30 minutes, 10 to 30 minutes, and somebody changed the course of your life. But then on top of that, how your brain betrays you sometimes. I mean, I'm bipolar. I did not mention that before. I have a bipolar or borderline personality disorder. It's still being, discussed. I don't know. Major depression. Who knows? Got some chemical imbalance in my brain that lies to me. And it breaks my heart that sometimes my brain betrays me like this. And it's a constant fight, and it's exhausting. It's sad. I mean, I have journals from, I want to say the age 10 and up, and I actually reread them this week, and it breaks my heart, how much pain I go through. And then I think about it, I listen to the podcast and how relatable in a way everyone's story is, and I'm just it breaks my fucking heart. Yeah. That's probably my sad.
I heard something once, and it's resonated with me for a long time, ever since I heard it. And at first I listened to it and I thought, that sounds weird, but it was, the voice in your head isn't you. It's not necessarily you. We just kind of assume it's us because it comes from within us. Sometimes that voice in your head just starts leading you astray. And sometimes it can be, a lot of times, it can be your worst enemy. Most of my life have been my own worst enemy.
Yep.
I have put myself down. I'm very hard on myself, and I always felt like I was never worthy. So it's that's not me. That's that voice. I still catch it sometimes. I'll walk into a crowded room and I'm an outgoing guy, but I'll hear that voice and it'll be nobody likes you, or why would anybody want to meet you, or these people are a lot cooler than you. What are you even doing here? And now I think, you're not my voice. You're not me. It was just go away. And I think sometimes realizing, when your brain starts telling you that stuff, sometimes you can just say, shut the fuck up. You're not me. Let me handle this. We'll worry about it when it happens. If they don't like me, I'll worry about that when it happens. But the voice in my head is not going to control me anymore. He can still get in there and he'll pick at my armor that I built up, and he's always picking at the armor, always trying to get a chink in there. But, when I see it happening, I'm like, get out of here. You're not me. And, the other part of it is I think about all of the amazing experiences we've just had together. And I think, if you had done that, we would have never had that. I wouldn't have you in my life. My life would be diminished from that. So fuck that voice in your brain.
Yeah, I think the biggest reason why I actually ended up agreeing to go out with Jessica is because I had just gotten out of the hospital and had just kind of gotten back on my feet. And I was like, this might really be good for me. It's like, what's the worst that can happen? Everyone hates you, or like, you don't like it. Oh, okay. Oh, fucking well. Like, let's just dive on in, and I'm glad I did, because I was the day of Pride. I was like, you're going to cancel. Like, you're not in the mood. You're not in the mood. And then I like looked at myself and I'm like, you have D&D tonight. Just go until you have D&D and then go home. And so that is exactly what I did. I stayed until like 7 o'clock and I was like, I'm gonna have D&D. Bye, guys. So I'm glad I went. And it was hard because, everyone was kind of established and knew each other. But I mean, I just kept coming back because I'm a little stubborn. I was like, I don't mind being like the shy girl for a minute, because that's kind of just who I am at first. And then I'm like, all right, once I get comfortable, it's, it's all good.
Game on.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so shy now. No, I'm stubborn. I mean, and I think that's kind of why I'm still here, because like I knew this, especially this last time, I'm like, this isn't you. This isn't what you want for yourself. This isn't it. Like, this. You're better. You're okay. But you have some shit you need to work out. So let's work on it. And you're cheating yourself right now. Like, you're cheating yourself. So I just kind of pushed through, and I'm glad I did. I mean, I still struggle. Like, I've been going through it. I've been having a really, really hard time all winter, especially this past few weeks, honestly. I'm not functioning very well, but I know that I can get better. I know that things are going to get better. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Nothing worthwhile is ever easy. And that's why life is not easy.
Yeah.
The struggle sometimes is what makes it worthwhile. When you come out in the end and you find that happiness and you find those little moments that make you happy, makes it worthwhile. And I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
That kind of leads us into the last question, which is, based on your life experience so far, what's the best advice you can give the people out there listening?
You actually kind of said it. You led up to it really well. The best advice is to not minimize those small moments that make you happy. Don't ignore the small blisses. Like, I mean, when you wake up in the morning, take a moment, even if it's just 30 seconds, to appreciate how beautiful the sun is, or how cool the clouds look, or if it's foggy, like how interesting the fog looks. I mean, anything, just take a second to find something to appreciate about the day. I mean, people say gratitude journals, right? 3 things down. No, you can mentally jot, like, that's awesome. Like, this thing is awesome, because finding those things can keep you moving. I mean, it's okay to be happy. It's okay to find happiness in those really dark times, because that's what keeps you pushing forward.
Appreciating the small things is like one of those internal things. I don't really force myself to do it, but I've trained myself to do it. And I think you can train yourself to appreciate things. And, one of the things that I really appreciate, which is, it's a weird one because it goes back, and I actually remember it very well, because it was when I don't know how young I was. It's kind of one of those where it's like first memory sort of things. And I remember I had never seen the sunrise, like from dark to coming up. And so I told my mom, I said, I want to see what it looks like when the sun comes up. And she said, okay, it's going to be really early, but like, I will make us breakfast. And if anybody's watching this, my mom is my soft spot. So, so she makes us breakfast, and we get up, and I'm looking out the back door, and I watch the sunrise. That's like the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And I was driving to work just like a few years ago, and the sun's coming up, and you just don't pay attention to it anymore. You don't pay attention to a lot of little things. And I thought about that, and I thought, I remember when this was the most amazing thing in my life that I saw, and now it's nothing to me. And I thought, I'm not going to let that happen anymore. I'm going to appreciate the small stuff, little stuff that happens every day, and I'm happy just because it happens every day. So it took a while, but like I really started training myself to appreciate small stuff, because I'm also like, I love to do grand things. I like to go run Spartan races, and I like to travel and see things. But like once you kind of like train yourself to appreciate that little stuff, it's like you're always on vacation.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like I couldn't afford to not appreciate the small things. Like I couldn't afford to miss out on those like small things, because if didn't I didn't have a lot going for me for a little while. I think those small things like the birds, blue jays are actually one of my favorite things. Just they're not I'm terrified of birds, but blue jays, man, are freaking cool looking. And waking up and finding blue jays for, I want to say 6 months, I'd see a blue jay every few days. It was the coolest thing ever. I'd go for walks and I'd try to find cool flowers. I mean, I'd have to do that, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be here. I would not be here if I didn't do things like that for myself. And now, like you said, you've trained yourself. It's like I've trained myself to do that, and I still get that rush of like excitement from it. I mean, and like I know you just said your mom's your soft spot. It's like my dad. He passed away when I was 19. After everything happened to me, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. He passed away when I was 19. I don't have a lot of like crazy moments with him, because I grew up in Japan. Like I had spent so much time apart from him, and my parents were divorced. So, I mean, I think he's a big part of the reason why music is so important to me. Like my guitar, her name's Cherry, she's over there. He bought it for me, and the thing was cracked as soon as we got it. We had spent months picking it out, months and months and months, and we finally settled on this Seagull guitar. Loved it. Cherry Redwood from Canada. That is why her name is Cherry. And we got it, and this thing is cracked. And he ended up calling them, was like, hey, this thing's cracked. Can we get a new one? And they're like, you know what? They're like, of course, blah, blah, blah. We're so sorry. And he's like, actually, like, what are you going to do with this guitar when we send it back? Are you just going to throw it away? And they're like, yeah, we just throw it away. He's like, can I just keep it? And can you give me a refund for the guitar then? And so he kept it. We kept the guitar. He resined it. So like, if you look at my guitar, part of it is just resined down. Like, and the thing sounds beautiful still. It's needs tuning more often. That's the only downfall for it. And I love that thing. Like I cherish my guitar. Like it's my baby. I don't know how I got here, but I think just one of my fondest memories with my dad, and just cherishing that. And I don't play it as much as I should, but it's out on display, and I look at it and I'm just like, it makes me smile every time I see it. Every time. And it's just there. And even though it's always there every day, I wake up, I look at it, and I smile. I smile every time. It's like just that memory, just those things to focus on throughout the day. I think it's just so important for your health.
That imperfection in the guitar makes it perfect.
Oh my God, It's so perfect. It's so perfect.
Well, I really appreciate you spending your time with me today and talking about things. I think there's a lot people can glean from what you talked about, and unfortunately, there's been a lot of people in your position on some of the things we talked about today, and it lets them know that you're not alone, and all the thoughts and fears and everything that comes along with that stuff is natural. Now you're in my little fold, and I am the protector. You probably have picked up on that. And so, hearing the story today, it makes me very sad that something like that ever had to happen to you.
It don't be. It's honestly, it's made me a stronger person, and I wouldn't be who I am today without this happening to me. And I like the person I am today. So I'm not grateful. I'm not, but I do like the person I am today, and I'm okay.
You're an amazing person.
I'm okay, So don't be sad. Don't be sad.
I'm still.
Don't, trust me. Don't be. I'm not. I'm not sad about it anymore. I do get sad occasionally, but I'm okay. Like, I promise. If I ever find the fucker, we'll kick his ass. But like,
I guarantee you on that.
yeah, but it's okay. Like I said, I'm happy and I love the person I am today. So, and I wouldn't be that person if these life experiences didn't happen.
Well, I'm just going to end this episode by saying I love you, Sam.
I love you too.
I want to thank you all for listening today. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Also, check out the video podcast at Handlebar ASMR on YouTube for extras.